A driver is, as Microsoft defines it, software that allows your computer to communicate with hardware or devices. Simple, right? But why do we even need that? So you've got a device, let's say a sound card. You should be able to just plug it in with no drivers, and your music player, let's say Winamp, should generate a digital signal that says, yo, sup dog, I need an E flat up in this biz or something. And the sound card should make that noise, right? Well, actually, yeah, that's basically how it works. And if there was only one sound card in existence, it pretty much could. But there's a problem. There are literally thousands of sound devices, and all of them will work completely differently from each other. The signal that meant E flat in our last example could mean dinosaur onion to another. And for everything to work correctly, software makers would need to rewrite their software with specialized signaling for your sound card, along with every card that ever existed and every card that ever will exist. It would be fine if every single software developer was the freaking doctor, but this is the real world, not my fantasy. So that's what a driver is. It acts as an abstraction layer or translator. That way, the makers of your favorite programs only have to interact with your hardware in one standardized language, and the driver handles the rest. So that sounds relatively simple. Why do drivers cause so many issues? Well, there are a ton of variables that exist for the programmers on the driver side as well. Aside from our oversimplified E-flat example, your hardware is capable of a great deal of amazing stuff, all of which we expect to work absolutely perfectly. And even though standards exist, even if they were adhered to perfectly, things like other devices and other pieces of software can cause conflicts. And on top of that, separate drivers need to be maintained for multiple operating systems like Linux, OS X, Windows, and the various flavors of each that exist in the wild, each with their own universal language that the driver needs to translate to. It leaves plenty of room for one of the variants of a driver for a particular piece of hardware to have an imperfection or two, and helps me at least understand why sometimes a piece of hardware lacks support for the OS I'm trying to use it with. Which isn't to say that the lack of an official driver always precludes using the hardware. On Windows anyway, sometimes if you know what you're doing, you can force install one and it will mostly work. Driver files are usually .inf files, and Vista drivers can sometimes be used on Windows 7 and Windows 8 and vice versa. So pick the correct version of Windows, that is to say 32-bit or 64-bit, not Pro or Ultimate or whatever. Extract the files from the installer and give the manual browse feature in Device Manager a crack before you totally throw up your hands and give up. This trick has saved my bacon with wireless network adapters and other things a handful of times.